welcome back to Gossip Guides.
Ah!
There's
Week 2!
There's Kevin.
Hello, everyone.
This is our second episode of Gossip Guides. It is, wow, about 5:22 right now. Sunset's probably going to be going down pretty soon. Might have to bust out the old headlamps.
Ooh, but I got it prepared.
Left mine in my bag. Oh no.
We're ready.
So in this week, like we said on the last one, we were going to talk about something related to mental health. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of groups. Working at a psych hospital, me and Kevin have ran more than a handful of groups, but what we're talking about is actually hiking in groups. A lot of different benefits to those. Kevin, is there any that come off right off the top of the head?
Ooh, right off the top. Yeah, a lot. So a lot of people deal with like social anxiety or being around new people, or just in most places where you're going to be social, you have to come up with conversation or whatever it is. But out here in the wilderness, you can talk about anything. You can say, hey, that rock looks like a rabbit, and someone could be like, wow, you know what, it does.
Yeah.
And just instant conversation can start.
Reminds me of my art class in college.
Ooh,
There's a
the
guy.
clouds?
We were literally looking at pictures. There'd be people that would say the most outlandish stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And the whole class is like, oh, I see how you could see that. And everybody's like, definitely doesn't look like a gargoyle, but sure, Gerald. Jeez, whatever.
Yes.
So you can be, it's an opportunity to be a little bit more social, get out of your shell a little bit. I can think of numerous trips that I've been on where, there's definitely someone in the group that's a little bit more quiet or, isn't as kind of, social as the rest of the group, but by the end of the trip, they're one of the more social folks in the group because they've kind of busted out of their shell and they've been presented with an opportunity to kind of, explore that a little bit. Because that can be kind of scary, if you're not used to talking a whole lot or, really, really conversating with people. If you're an introvert, that's totally fine. But getting outside in groups and stuff like that can actually be a really good opportunity for people to kind of practice those different kind of skills.
Yeah, everyone's got personality, and it's just opening up and getting through that barrier of being nervous, talking around, whoever you are.
Yeah.
Another thing about groups is it's super challenging sometimes. You're going to have that one person who just wants to send it, another person who maybe they're not as equipped to necessarily be doing what they're doing, but the whole group can push everyone to either stay at a calm pace or get a challenge that you never would have thought you could do. I know I went to Zion National Park with these two guys that were way above my level of hiking. In the backpack trip that we did, I only was able to do because just every 20 minutes they were yelling at me to, it's worth it, you can do it, you're fine. And I was the entire time. I was just freaking out, but because they were able to help me, I got to see some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen. Yeah.
They can also be motivating. I can think of some hikes that I've gone on alone before, and I've just gotten to a certain point, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm good.
Nah.
Or you're with a group of people that kind of, you don't want to be the one that doesn't make it to the top. Not that there's anything wrong with not making it to the top, but when you're in a group, there's kind of that camaraderie, and people kind of push you, motivate you, all kinds of different things. That's also kind of part of the guide's job, but when you're in a big group like that. And what I mean by big group is 5 or 6 people. We're not running caravans.
Nope.
This isn't the 1800s.
No.
And
yeah, getting to the top is also fun. Getting to the top of a peak by yourself, you're like, all right, well, this was awesome. I guess I'll go back now.
Yeah.
Whereas
post some pics on the Insta, do it for the gram, as
get
they
some
say.
selfies.
Yeah.
But when you have people to appreciate, one of my favorite things is hiking a 14er and just conversing with strangers at the top of the 14er, and just everyone's just up there after this incredible feat that they just did, and everyone becomes friends instantly because you just did something awesome.
It's also a great way to build memories. I mean, when we wrap up hikes, we always typically grab something to eat or whatever, but that's an opportunity to talk about things that you've done in the past, but also being a participant in that kind of thing, and really being able to look, oh, you remember that time we hiked I don't know, Sniffles, or whatever type hike. That every kind of adventure tends to come with that that story or that thing that everybody remembers. So it's also a good way to really make good memories, as much as a thing that Instagram and Facebook and all these social media outlets are. The memories that you have between the people that were actually there, oftentimes some of the biggest.
Yeah, and it's safer. Hiking with groups is also always safer. You know, if you've got 4 people that are like, Kevin, this is a bad idea, we should not continue to do this, I'm probably going to be like, yep, yeah, let's turn around. Whereas if it's just one-on-one or whatever, you know, sometimes that can be a little bit more difficult to gauge the safety of it. But
Yep.
groups, definitely better.
Yep. I can think of something. I went on a hike. It was 2 weeks ago. This guy had to kind of. I mean, he wasn't doing so hot. We kept going, and then eventually he got to the point where he was kind of cramping a little bit, and it was starting to get. This probably isn't the best idea. Had he been by himself, who knows what he would have done? He might have tried to keep pushing himself. He may have turned around, but eventually it came to the point where I just kind of like, you know, didn't tell him what to do necessarily, but I definitely threw it out there that that's an option to turn around. I was very appreciative of that because about halfway through. Going down, he started cramping up even worse, and so we, you know, kind of drank some more water, got some nutrients on board and everything like that, and he was fine the rest of the time. But had we continued on, that could have been a much different story. So
yeah, it's a bummer sometimes not making it to the peak, but that peak's always going to be there, and you can always
mountain will
come
be there
back.
tomorrow. Tamari.
Yeah, I remember the first time I did Bear Peak. I was doing it before work. I'm like, I'm just gonna send it. It won't be that big of a deal. And I talked to someone. They're like, yeah, you have another 1,300 vertical feet. And I'm like, oh my god, not a chance. And I turned around and I just got in my car and I'm like, my legs are dead. There's no way. If I would have continued going up there, that would have sucked. So,
yeah. All right.
What else? Mental health. What benefits do you enjoy about hiking?
I mean, hiking with people, like I was telling you on the car ride up here, I mean, like I've honestly like feed off the energy when I, you know, take somebody up to like a mountain, or if we, you know, even go out, like not something that big, but you can tell that like they have just, whether it's they've gotten some stress relief, they've kind of, you know, explored some things with themselves, or they've just like really had like a great time. When you can like see that or like feel that, like that honestly is like probably one of my favorite things about being a guide, is when you see someone like, you know, physically like blow their mind essentially. Like that is absolutely incredible. Like there was a time where we got to the top of South Boulder Peak, and as soon as you like came over that ledge and they realized, they're like, whoa, like the drop off's there, but they were just like so thrilled. Like I yelled probably for the first time, and like I can't even remember. I'm not really a loud person, so
yeah.
But I like hooped and hollered and everything like that, and I was like, wow, this is super exciting. So that was, I don't know, that was huge. I still kind of I get really giddy about that. Yeah, I mean that's what I would say. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I do a lot more backpacking and winter stuff than just getting out and hiking, but I compare it a lot to, you know, sending a 5 to 10 mile hike into the mountains and finally getting to that alpine lake, or the multiple alpine lakes you've been trying to get to, and you're just like, I have accomplished what I'm trying to accomplish, which is not something you usually think you can do. Or like with snowboarding for me, I always look at something, I'm like, I can't do that, I'm not good enough to do that. And again, the group of people that I usually go to push me, and at the end I'm like, I am so happy I made that decision to do it. It's like that Will Smith YouTube video about jumping out of the airplane. The entire time he's like, oh, I can't do it, I'm gonna freak out, and then once he did it, he's like, this is the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, a lot of the like biggest, I don't know if you want to call them successes or most rewarding things, whatever, like you have to go through periods of like being uncomfortable, and you have to kind of like push up against that, and you know, obviously, you know, using some common sense. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go rip my arm off just to like send this like, you know, rock climb or anything like that. But you know, there are moments of where things are very uncomfortable, and pushing through that, you'll often find that you grow the most from those types of opportunities and those types of things. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What else has been happening in the world? Exciting news. We had our first guide in our running platform. Shout out to Josh. He is a phenomenal runner, does ultra marathons or other crazy amounts of miles that I can't even...
He probably runs more in like a week than I do in probably like a year.
I mean, I don't want to drive my car as far as he rides, or how far as he runs. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to send it 100 miles. I'm like,
casual.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, huge, Frank was his name from Miami.
Frank.
So, shout out to Frank the Running Tank on Instagram. I believe that's his name.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome. You've done a couple of hikes in the last week.
Yep.
What's been your favorite part of the last couple of hikes?
Favorite part of the past couple of hikes is kind of again that, I mean, when you see, because I had a sunrise hike and then I had a hike up, local hike here in Boulder, and on both occasions there was just a moment where you could just tell, whether it was like when they summited or when like the sun rose, or just these little snippets of time where like you could just tell that like people were just overcome with just like awe, you know what I mean? And being able to facilitate or even like be a part of something like that is hands down like probably my favorite part. I mean, that happens pretty often. Never gets old. never gets old.
Yeah.
But I would say the last 2 weeks I had two pretty extraordinary folks hiking with me. So shout out to Chelsea Z and Mark. Those were pretty exceptional experiences, and I definitely hope to see them in the near future, because I also love, like, you know, when I have people that aren't really super comfortable with hiking or aren't really used to mountains or anything like that, take them out on an adventure and you kind of build up some of their skills, and like you really see them start to grow in that short period of time. Because, you know, a lot of people think hiking is like, oh, it's just walking. It's like, well, there's a little bit more to it, you know. Like I'm not gonna say it's this like overly technical concept, but there are some things to know before you go. So being able to kind of like build people's skills, and then to, you know, hear back about like the different adventures they've been on and all this cool stuff that they've done since then, is, you know, that's what our company's all about. You know?
Yeah.
Like Ryan and Hannah that visited, I think it was that in October, I want to say? It was either October or November. We had Ryan and Hannah who hiked with us back in August. They came back and they were telling me about this experience they had down in Arkansas, which of all places, Arkansas.
The Ozarks.
The Ozarks.
I think that's there. Or it's in Missouri. I don't know. It's somewhere around that area.
Colonel Sanders vibe. Down in the Ozarks.
Ooh. One of my favorite things that I've seen of your hikes is sometimes we're able to get the reactions of the people when they get to the peak. And it's one thing if you know, you can see the BS on Instagram where it's like, oh my God, the top of the mountain, how crazy. It's like, all right, you're actually not enjoying this. And then people are like speechless. Like when they say the mountains take your breath away, not only because you can't breathe due to the altitude if you're not used to it, but you really just like, there's no words that can explain. And it's a little dark because the sun's going down. But even this view right here that we get to see on a weekly basis, most people will not ever experience something like this. So we're super, super fortunate to see that expression on others. Because it's a view that's not boring. Like, this never
gets old.
Oh, let's just sit in the house and record this. It's like, no, this is awesome.
Never gets old. Instagram will never, any of the pictures you take will never do it justice.
No.
Experience it for in the real life-ality.
Yes. Okay.
That's a word. That's definitely a word. Real life-ality. You heard it here first, folks.
Next, we're going to kind of... I have a lot of things planned for this summer that I hope that I get to do. I'm sure Jordan will be a part of most of those things. But do you have any trip that you as a, you know, maybe not as a guide, but just as Jordan, that you're really looking forward to this summer?
I think honestly I'm looking forward to my birthday weekend.
Okay.
Me and another very good friend, we're going down to Utah actually, which we're going down to Joe's Valley, very well known climbing spot. We're probably going to do a little backpacking around there. Might see some friends over in Moab. But right now that's probably the most exciting thing I got lined up. And then also got Pikes Peak lined up for Meredith and Ellen from Michigan out there.
Whoop whoop.
We're gonna take on.
I'm gonna
Pikes
try to
Peak.
send it on that one with you guys.
You know,
marathon in the mountains.
Marathon in the mountains.
That's gonna be the tagline.
There it is. But you know, I'd say that trip to Utah, and just I really anticipate going on a lot of just rad adventures all throughout the state. You know, still trying to make it out to California. So, but that's in the future. That's not in my summer plans. Yet. But what about you?
So I have 4 things that I'm trying to accomplish. The first one is Long's Peak. I see it from my office window, and I just want to be at the top of that and be like, I've been there. And it's very, very challenging, really long. So I'm keyhole is gonna get me. So I've been practicing my scrambling skills for that, because that's pretty much the if of it. Bring lots of water, be in shape, and be able to scramble. Second thing is my backpacking trip, Lone Eagle Peak in the Indian Peaks Wilderness, which is technically, I don't know, somewhere over there. It's one of the most iconic...
Next to that mountain, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I always love pointing out mountains to people trying to describe them. The one that looks like, I don't know.
That one, you know, the really tall one.
The pointy cone one.
With all the other tall ones.
Yeah, the one with the green trees. Yeah.
It's got snow on it. So Lone Eagle Peak, besides the Maroon Bells, is probably the most iconic mountain in Colorado. It's on a lot of those backpackers, country, the dried food label. And it's just tall, steep, and it just sits there and out of nowhere. Thinking about hitting up a couple of the national parks in Utah. Want to do the Grand Canyon, but the bucket list for October or the last week of September is Yosemite Falls.
Ooh.
So
There you go.
backpack up there. I have a couple friends who have done it, and they're gonna do it again. So I'm gonna try to tag along to that.
There you go.
So
Coming up from elevation, you'll probably crush it.
yeah,
I remember being out in Alaska thinking it was going to be this rugged, awful experience. Oh, elevation just,
yeah.
I was crushing it. These guys are literally like mountaineers doing this stuff all the time, and I was head of the pack. It felt pretty good. So you might surprise yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
Might
and
surprise
that's one thing that is you don't realize living in Colorado. Like, we climbed 14,000-foot mountains. I was in Utah, and their tallest peak for skiing was like 11.5. Like, hiking up there is much different than, or just anywhere. When we were at Zion, I think we got to like 6,000 feet. The elevation was 0. But it's a desert and it sucked, and that was a rough experience. But worth it again.
Yeah, Zion reminds me of Mars. Not that I've ever been to Mars.
Yeah.
Never, but when I went there for Thanksgiving,
Oh, man.
wow. I was like, okay, we have somehow gotten a spaceship.
Yeah, we're not on this planet
We're
anymore.
on Mars.
Yeah. Most backpacking trips, I did Flat Top Mountain in Wyoming for the solar eclipse, and that was again, looked like another planet, like just a huge valley, where we don't necessarily see that a lot in Colorado. It's just like, all right, we're at this alpine lake at 12,000 feet, but when you get a valley involved, it's like, whoa, I can just see for so long.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
I think in like
lots
5
of
minutes
things.
we covered a whole lot of our stories. See, folks, groups. They
Groups.
bring out the best stories.
Mm.
You really get to know a person. So, groups.
Still, fixing the bugs with our app. We got it downloaded,
Yep.
getting it in the works. So if anyone wants to join the company to be a guide,
Looking for fishermen, looking for rock climbers, looking for
Photographers.
hikers, nature photography,
outdoor yoga.
yogi,
Ooh.
Yogi Bear.
We kind of have like a solid spot right here for if we wanted to lead our own yoga groups. I suck at yoga, but
Amphitheater /
Oh,
yoga
yeah.
studio. There we go. Changing the game.
we're thinking about doing like an outdoor acoustic little small concert thing here with just like a small group of people. Don't know if that would work out, but it's definitely got the look for sure.
Yep.
What else with the app?
I say primarily we're looking for guides and also looking for people. We've been hiking year round. There's all sorts of different snow sports you can do out there, snowshoeing, what have you. Looking for guides, also looking for people. We've got a pretty solid track record going here. I think we got close to like, I don't know, probably 95, over 100 5-star reviews. So
Woo woo!
I probably should have kept track of that, huh? Announced.
I mean, I feel like
100.
that
seems like a thing a company would do.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
We hit
Too late.
400 solid followers on our Instagram.
There we
So
go.
hot.
Slowly expand. Grow slow.
Grow slow. Oh, another shout out. We're gonna post the website again, but we still have a GoFundMe out there. If the money's not in the books, if you could just share, the more sharing we get of that, just trying to afford to make the company better.
Yeah, and we're really, I don't know, one way I've tried to pitch it to people is just kind of, if you, for every person that sees it, if they donate $1 and shares it themselves, like, that doesn't, pose any significant financial burden. We're not trying to gouge people.
Nah. Tax refund, though. Getting them tax checks. Just kidding.
Yeah. But that's kind of really what we're asking for is, donate $1 and share once, and you've done us a world of help. So, that's all we can really ask from you guys out there. Some of the people that have even hiked with me have donated more than that, and it's not that we're sitting here really give us money, but we're really trying to make the world a little bit better of a place through these different outdoor adventures and stuff like that. And so that's one way that you guys can kind of help us achieve that goal.
Yeah. What else?
Well, Kevin,
I feel like we had a good session.
I think it's pretty good. Sun's going down. It's looking a little hazy.
Yeah.
A little hazy. Were we in the Smoky Mountains or the Rocky Mountains? John Denver.
All right. Well, guys, comments, like our Instagram, subscribe. Hit the little button down here. We don't have that cool. Ooh, we could have a little puppet show. Yeah, like, subscribe. Any comments, anything you guys want us to talk about next week. We're going to get more in a routine on this. Mm-hmm. We might have some guest speakers in the next week, so that's exciting.
That. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Signing off.